The high-stakes trial of music mogul Sean "Diddy" Combs has sent shockwaves through Hollywood, threatening to shake the very foundations of the entertainment industry. Once celebrated as a groundbreaking force in hip-hop and a savvy entrepreneur, Combs now stands accused of serious trafficking and racketeering charges that could not only derail his career, but also expose hidden corners of the music business. What started as speculation and rumors has rapidly escalated into one of the most closely watched and sensational trials in recent years, captivating media outlets and public attention worldwide. From the outset, the courtroom buzzed with palpable tension. The media descended in full force, with reporters jockeying for position, eager to capture every moment of the high-profile case. Cameras flashed as Combs entered, surrounded by his legal team and security, while crowds gathered outside the courthouse. A mixture of fans, critics, and onlookers hungry for any insight into the proceedings. The trial quickly morphed into a media spectacle, with news cycles and social platforms dissecting every testimony, every motion, and every reaction, fueling an unrelenting frenzy. Yet this trial is far more than just a celebrity scandal or legal drama. It represents a profound reckoning for the entertainment industry, long criticized for turning a blind eye to the darker realities behind the glittering facade. Beyond Combs' personal fate lies a broader reckoning over power, influence, and accountability in Hollywood. A moment that could challenge entrenched systems and bring overdue scrutiny to how the music world operates behind closed doors. As the trial unfolds, it is clear that the stakes are monumental, not only for Sean "Diddy" Combs but for the future of an entire industry. What happens when crucial evidence disappears right before your eyes? This question lies at the heart of one of the most baffling twists in Sean "Diddy" Combs' ongoing trial. The saga began in 2011 with a break-in at the home of rapper Kid Kai, a key witness linked to the case. According to reports, the intrusion appeared targeted, raising immediate suspicion that it was connected to the larger web of allegations against Combs and his associates. Law enforcement officers who investigated the break-in collected various pieces of evidence, including fingerprints that could potentially link suspects to the scene. However, the case took an alarming turn when these fingerprints, critical to establishing the timeline and identities involved, were mysteriously destroyed while in government custody. The destruction of such vital evidence sent shockwaves through the courtroom and sparked fierce accusations from the defense team. Combs' lawyers seized on the incident to argue prosecutorial misconduct, claiming that the government's mishandling of evidence severely compromised their client's right to a fair trial. They contended that the disappearance of the fingerprints was no accident but a deliberate attempt to undermine the defense's case. These allegations intensified the already heated courtroom battle as the defense pushed for a mistrial, asserting that the loss of evidence irreparably damaged the proceedings. On the other side, prosecutors vehemently denied any wrongdoing, insisting that the evidence destruction was unintentional and a result of administrative error rather than malfeasance. They maintained that the core case remained strong and that other evidence more than sufficed to prove the charges against Combs. The judge overseeing the trial faced a difficult decision. After careful deliberation, the court rejected the defense's motion for a mistrial, ruling that despite the unfortunate destruction of the fingerprints, the trial could proceed. The judge emphasized the need to balance the integrity of the judicial process with the practical realities of the case, signaling that the prosecution still had substantial proof on its side. Nonetheless, the destruction of such pivotal evidence cast a long shadow over the trial, raising serious questions about transparency, fairness, and the lengths parties might go to influence the outcome. For observers and participants alike, this episode underscored just how fragile the pursuit of justice can be when crucial pieces of the puzzle suddenly vanish. A fiery message left at the scene. Who wanted Kid Kai's Porsche burned? The courtroom was riveted as an arson investigator took the stand to describe the chilling 2012 fire that engulfed the rapper's luxury car. A dramatic incident that prosecutors argue was no random act, but a deliberate warning. The investigator detailed how the blaze originated from a Molotov cocktail, a homemade incendiary device, thrown at the vehicle parked outside Kid Kai's residence. The testimony painted a vivid picture of the attack's precision. The bottle was expertly lobbed to ensure maximum damage, with accelerants used to guarantee the car's destruction. Photos presented to the jury showed the aftermath. The charred shell of the once pristine Porsche, melted glass, and scorch marks tracing the violence of the assault. This was not just vandalism or an accident. It was a targeted act, prosecutors assert. meant to intimidate and send a clear signal to Kid Cudi and anyone connected to him. The attack fits into a broader pattern of threats and intimidation tactics, allegedly orchestrated by Sean Diddy Combs and his associates, according to the prosecution's narrative. They argue that these violent acts were designed to silence witnesses and protect a network of illicit activities tied to Combs. The defense, however, questioned the connection between the firebombing and Combs, suggesting alternative explanations and emphasizing a lack of direct evidence linking him to the attack. They challenged the reliability of witness testimonies and sought to downplay the significance of the arson in the larger case. Yet the photos and forensic details left a powerful impression on the jury, underscoring the brutal lengths to which violence was deployed in this saga. The firebomb attack was more than a crime scene. It was a symbol of the stakes involved, illuminating the dangerous environment surrounding the trial. As the trial progressed, this incendiary episode served as a stark reminder of the risks faced by those caught in the crossfire, a blazing testament to the high tensions and shadowy forces at play: love, power, and abuse, the dark side of a high-profile romance. At the center of this high-profile trial is Sean Diddy Combs' tumultuous relationship with singer and model Cassie Ventura, a relationship that prosecutors argue reveals a troubling pattern of control and violence. Their history, once perceived by fans as glamorous and enviable, has come under intense scrutiny as allegations of abuse emerged, adding a deeply personal and painful dimension to the case. Cassie Ventura's testimony was one of the most gripping moments of the trial. She detailed years marked by verbal threats, manipulation, and emotional control, painting a stark contrast to the public image of their relationship. Witnesses recalled moments when Ventura appeared fearful, recounting incidents where Combs allegedly exerted tight control over her movements and interactions, isolating her from friends and family. The courtroom heard how what began as charm and affection quickly morphed into intimidation and dominance behind closed doors. Further amplifying the gravity of the allegations, prosecutors presented a series of photographs showing visible bruises and injuries Ventura reportedly sustained during their relationship. The images, raw and unfiltered, underscored the physical reality behind the verbal claims and brought a harrowing weight to the courtroom. Medical experts testified to the nature of the injuries, affirming that they were consistent with abuse rather than accidental harm. This evidence has become a crucial piece in the prosecution's case, highlighting not only Combs' alleged criminal conduct outside his personal life, but also the darker aspects of his behavior in intimate relationships. It supports the broader narrative of power imbalance, control, and violence that prosecutors argue is central to the charges against him. The defense team, meanwhile, sought to challenge Ventura's credibility, questioning her motives and the timing of her allegations. They argued that the relationship was complex and that any injuries were not the result of abuse. Yet the detailed testimonies and visual evidence presented created a compelling portrait of vulnerability and fear. Ultimately, Combs' relationship with Cassie Ventura exposes a deeply troubling side of fame and power, one where love can become entangled with control and abuse. As the trial continues, it remains a powerful reminder of the human cost behind the headlines, a stark contrast to the glitz and glamour often associated with Hollywood's elite. What do baby oil, platform heels, and guns have in common? In the federal raid on Sean Diddy Combs' Miami mansion, this bizarre combination of items left investigators and the courtroom alike perplexed, shining an unusual spotlight on the private life of the music mogul and raising questions about what it might reveal about the case. The raid, conducted early one morning, was the culmination of months of surveillance and investigation into allegations of trafficking and racketeering. Federal agents stormed the sprawling estate, seizing a wide array of items that seemed at odds with each other, yet carried significant implications. Among the seized materials were bottles of baby oil and Astroglide, bondage gear, towering platform heels, and an arsenal of firearms, including several legally questionable handguns. Homeland Security officials who testified in court described the eclectic nature of the items found during the arrest. The agents recounted uncovering evidence that suggested a lifestyle marked by excess and secrecy, hinting at underground activities far removed from the public's perception of Combs as a music industry titan. The combination of intimate paraphernalia alongside weapons painted a complex picture, one that prosecutors argue aligns with the darker allegations of coercion and control woven throughout the case. The presence of bondage gear and lubricants was interpreted by prosecutors as potential evidence of coercive practices, while the weapons pointed to an environment of intimidation and preparedness for violence. Defense attorneys sought to downplay the significance, arguing that personal items like platform heels and oils do not imply criminal conduct, and that firearms were legally owned and unrelated to any illicit activities. Still, the stark contrast between glamorous accessories and dangerous weaponry highlighted the contradictions in Combs' world. A life of luxury shadowed by suspicion and potential illegality. The raid and the items it uncovered became a focal point in the trial, illustrating the strange and sometimes unsettling undercurrents beneath the surface of fame. As testimony continued, this curious collection of evidence raised questions about not only Combs' personal habits, but also the potential scope of his involvement in criminal enterprises. It challenged the jury to consider how the trappings of celebrity can sometimes mask a far more complicated and troubling reality. Thousands in cash and mysterious powder. What secrets do they hide? During Sean Diddy Combs' arrest, federal agents uncovered $9,000 in cash tucked away with him at a luxury hotel, alongside bags containing baby oil and a striking pink powder. Laboratory tests later revealed that this powder tested positive for ketamine and MDMA, powerful substances often associated with drug trafficking and recreational drug scenes. The discovery of large amounts of cash and controlled substances added another layer to the prosecution's case, directly tying Combs to alleged illegal drug operations. Prosecutors argue that the cash represents proceeds from illicit activities and points to an ongoing network of trafficking that extends beyond mere accusations. The presence of ketamine and MDMA in close proximity to Combs was presented as physical evidence supporting claims that he was involved in the distribution and facilitation of controlled substances. Defense attorneys pushed back hard against these assertions. They argued that large cash sums are not unusual for someone in Combs' line of work, given his status as a high-profile entrepreneur and performer. They also questioned the chain of custody and testing procedures for the substances found, suggesting potential contamination or misidentification. The defense maintained that no direct evidence linked Combs to drug trafficking, emphasizing that possession alone does not prove intent or involvement in a criminal enterprise. Nevertheless, the prosecution highlighted how these findings fit within a broader pattern of behavior detailed throughout the trial. Combined with other evidence, including the raid on his mansion and testimonies regarding trafficking rings, the cash and substances formed a compelling part of the narrative, portraying Combs as deeply enmeshed in illegal activities. As the trial progressed, this financial and drug-related evidence underscored the stakes involved. It forced jurors to grapple with the material realities behind the glamorous facade and question the extent to which money and drugs fueled a darker, hidden side of Combs' empire. When victims speak, the courtroom shifts, but is their truth questioned? The trial took a deeply emotional turn as Mia, one of the most compelling witnesses, took the stand to recount her harrowing experience with Sean Diddy Combs. Her testimony described years of abuse and psychological manipulation that she said left her feeling trapped and brainwashed by the music mogul's controlling behavior. Mia's account was raw and unfiltered, detailing instances of verbal threats, emotional coercion, and moments where she felt powerless under Combs' influence. She spoke about the confusing duality of their relationship, moments of affection intertwined with fear, and how this complex dynamic made it difficult to leave or even speak out sooner. Her testimony highlighted the often misunderstood psychological effects of abuse, where victims may act in ways that seem contradictory to outsiders but are rooted in trauma and survival. However, the defense was swift and strategic in their response. Combs' lawyers worked diligently to discredit Mia's narrative, presenting friendly text messages and social media interactions exchanged after the alleged abuse. They argued these communications demonstrated a consensual and amicable relationship, aiming to cast doubt on her credibility. The authenticity of her claims. The defense painted Mia's testimony as inconsistent and suggested that her accusations were motivated by ulterior reasons, seeking to undermine the emotional impact her story had on the jury. This clash illuminated the psychological complexity inherent in abuse cases, where victims' behaviors do not always fit simple narratives of victimhood. Experts called to the stand explained how trauma bonding, fear, and manipulation can cause victims to maintain contact with abusers or respond in ways that appear contradictory, underscoring that such behavior is common and does not invalidate their experiences. Mia was not alone in her testimony. Other victims came forward, sharing chilling accounts of threats and intimidation allegedly wielded by Combs to silence or control them. Their statements added weight to the prosecution's argument that Combs cultivated a climate of fear to protect his interests and maintain power over those around him. The defense continued to challenge these testimonies, questioning the timing, consistency, and motives of the accusers. Yet the cumulative effect of these personal stories was undeniable. The courtroom atmosphere shifted with each victim's voice, moving beyond abstract legal arguments to the deeply human consequences of the alleged crimes. As the trial moved forward, these testimonies stood as a powerful reminder of the courage it takes for victims to come forward and the difficult task jurors face in navigating truth amid conflicting evidence and emotions. What do stylists and police officers reveal about the man behind the fame? Throughout the trial, first-hand accounts from those who witnessed Sean Diddy Combs' behavior have painted a vivid and unsettling picture of the music mogul's life away from the spotlight. These testimonies add critical layers of detail to the prosecution's case, offering insight into the alleged patterns of verbal abuse, intimidation, and calculated violence. Stylist Deontay Nash took the stand to share his experiences working closely with Combs and Cassie Ventura. Nash described repeated instances where Combs directed harsh verbal abuse toward Ventura, often in private settings but also in moments witnessed by staff. His testimony depicted a controlling figure who exerted emotional dominance, creating an atmosphere of fear and submission around those closest to him. Nash's account gave the jury a glimpse into the personal turmoil behind what many had perceived as a glamorous relationship. Complementing these personal observations was the testimony of a police officer who provided a crucial eyewitness account related to the 2011 break-in at rapper Kid Kai's home. The officer recounted spotting a black Escalade speeding away from the scene shortly after the incident, a vehicle linked by the prosecution to Combs and his inner circle. This testimony helped connect the dots between the break-in and the larger narrative of intimidation and retaliation woven throughout the trial. Fire investigator Lance Jimenez further reinforced the prosecution's claims with his expert analysis of the 2012 firebomb attack on Kid Kai's Porsche. Jimenez confirmed that the fire was a targeted assault, carefully planned and executed with the intent to intimidate. His forensic findings underscored the severity and deliberate nature of the attacks, lending scientific weight to the prosecution's narrative. Together, these eyewitnesses and experts construct a troubling portrait of violence and control, revealing a side of Combs rarely seen in public. Their testimonies help the jury understand the environment of fear allegedly cultivated by Combs, where threats were not just whispered but acted upon. As these accounts unfolded, they deepened the case against Combs, making clear that beneath the veneer of celebrity lies a tangled web of power struggles and coercion. Fighting fire with fire. That's how Sean Diddy Combs' defense team has approached this high-profile trial. Faced with serious charges and damning testimonies, Combs' lawyers have aggressively challenged the prosecution at every turn, crafting a strategy aimed at dismantling the case piece by piece. Central to the defense's argument is the claim that the prosecution lacks concrete evidence directly linking Combs to the alleged crimes. They emphasize that many accusations rest on coerced or unreliable testimonies, painting witnesses as motivated by personal vendettas or external pressures. This approach seeks to sow doubt in the minds of jurors, underscoring inconsistencies in witness accounts and questioning the credibility of those who have come forward. Throughout the trial, the defense has filed multiple motions for mistrial, particularly in response to incidents like the mysterious destruction of fingerprint evidence and allegations of prosecutorial misconduct. While the judge has so far denied these motions, the defense's persistent legal challenges highlight their intent to disrupt the prosecution's narrative and protect their clients' rights. Another key element of the defense strategy is portraying the contentious encounters and relationships as consensual, especially when addressing allegations involving personal conduct. Combs' attorneys argue that interactions presented as abusive or coercive were, in fact, mutual and voluntary, attempting to recast the narrative to one of complexity rather than criminality. The defense also meticulously scrutinizes the prosecution's evidence, disputing the significance of seized items and financial findings, while raising questions about the chain of custody and the interpretation of forensic results. In this courtroom battle, Combs' lawyers are not simply defending their client. They are actively countering every claim, with a combination of legal maneuvers, strategic framing, and meticulous examination of the evidence. Their goal is clear: to dismantle the prosecution's case and secure an acquittal by exposing doubt and emphasizing reasonable, alternative explanations. As the trial continues, The defense's pushback remains a critical force shaping the unfolding drama, ensuring that Combs' fate will be decided only after a fierce contest of competing truths. Beyond the courtroom, the trial of Sean Diddy Combs has sent ripples far beyond legal circles, deeply shaking fans, the music industry, and the broader public. Revelations about Combs' personal life, from allegations of abuse to involvement in trafficking and violence, have sparked intense debate and reflection, forcing many to reconcile the man behind the music with the disturbing accusations he faces. Social media exploded as news of the trial's details spread, with fans, critics, and celebrities weighing in. Some expressed shock and disappointment, grappling with the contrast between Combs' public persona as a charismatic music icon and the darker narrative emerging in court. Others voiced support for the victims, emphasizing the importance of believing survivors and calling for accountability in an industry often criticized for protecting powerful figures at the expense of justice. Mainstream media coverage has been relentless, dissecting every testimony, piece of evidence, and legal maneuver with fervor. News outlets have highlighted the trial's significance not just as a legal proceeding, but as a cultural moment, reflecting ongoing societal struggles around power dynamics, abuse, and accountability. The trial has reignited conversations about the Me Too movement's impact on holding influential men responsible, particularly in entertainment sectors long marred by silence and complicity. Industry insiders have also felt the shockwaves, with many artists and executives reflecting privately on the implications. Questions about the music business's role in enabling toxic environments and turning a blind eye to misconduct have come to the forefront. Some fear the trial could trigger wider investigations and changes in how allegations are handled, while others worry about the reputational fallout for those connected to Combs. For fans, the emotional toll has been palpable. The case challenges not only their loyalty but their sense of trust and admiration. It serves as a stark reminder that celebrity glamour often masks complex and painful realities, forcing a reckoning with the darker side of fame. Ultimately, the trial transcends its legal boundaries. It stands as a cultural flashpoint, a moment that forces public reckoning with abuse, power, and the urgent need for transparency and justice in the entertainment world. Life behind bars or freedom restored, the stakes could not be higher for Sean Diddy Combs as his trial reaches its critical phase. If convicted on the trafficking, racketeering, and abuse charges, Combs faces potentially decades behind bars, along with significant legal and financial repercussions that would irrevocably alter the course of his life and career. Federal sentencing guidelines suggest that convictions on these serious charges could result in lengthy prison terms, possibly exceeding 20 years, depending on the court's assessment of the evidence and any prior criminal history. Beyond incarceration, Combs could face hefty fines, asset forfeiture, and restrictions that would impact his business operations and personal freedoms. The ramifications extend beyond the courtroom, threatening to dismantle the empire he has built over decades in music and entertainment. This trial also carries profound implications beyond Combs himself. As one of the most high-profile cases of its kind, it could set a precedent for how the justice system handles allegations of abuse, trafficking, and racketeering within the entertainment industry. A conviction may embolden prosecutors to pursue similar cases with renewed vigor, signaling that fame and influence offer no shield from accountability. Conversely, an acquittal could raise questions about the challenges victims face in securing justice and potentially deter future allegations against powerful figures. The entertainment world watches closely, aware that the trial's outcome could reshape industry norms and attitudes toward abuse allegations. The case may prompt shifts in how agencies, record labels, and management teams approach internal investigations and victim support, encouraging transparency and reform in an industry often criticized for overlooking misconduct. For Combs, the trial's conclusion will undoubtedly redefine his legacy. A conviction risked overshadowing his achievements and contributions to music, branding him primarily as a criminal rather than a cultural icon. Even if acquitted, the very public nature of the trial and the accusations may leave lasting damage to his reputation, sponsorships, and relationships within the industry. Ultimately, this case embodies a pivotal moment not just for Combs, but for the broader conversation about justice, power, and responsibility in the world of fame. Whatever the verdict, its impact will resonate for years to come. The truth is still unfolding. Will justice finally be served? As the trial of Sean Diddy Combs continues to captivate the nation, The complex layers of this case reveal not just a legal battle but a profound reckoning with issues of power, abuse, and accountability. From the mysterious break-in and fiery attacks to harrowing victim testimonies and startling evidence seized during federal raids, the trial lays bare a side of Combs that few ever imagined. This case is far more than a celebrity scandal. It is a critical moment in the ongoing fight to support survivors and demand accountability from those who wield influence. The voices of victims like Mia and others have pierced through the noise, reminding us all of the courage it takes to speak out against abuse. Their stories, met with both support and skepticism in court, underscore the complex reality of trauma and the urgent need for a justice system that listens and acts fairly. As the proceedings move forward, it's essential for the public to stay informed and engaged. Following developments with a critical eye helps ensure that the trial is not just another fleeting headline, but a catalyst for real change in the music industry and beyond. Awareness fuels progress, and understanding the nuances behind these allegations is vital to fostering a culture where abuse is no longer tolerated or hidden behind fame. We encourage readers and viewers to subscribe, follow reliable updates, and support organizations dedicated to helping victims of abuse and trafficking. Whether through sharing information, donating to survivor support groups, or simply listening and believing, every action contributes to a larger movement for justice. The journey toward truth and accountability is rarely straightforward, and this trial exemplifies those challenges. But with collective attention and a commitment to fairness, there is hope that justice will be served, not only for the victims involved but for all who have suffered in silence. Stay with us as we continue to cover this landmark case. Your awareness, compassion, and voice matter now more than ever.